And welcome back, everybody, to Conversations with the Owl. We've been off for 5 weeks. Now that you're back here with us on Nite Owl, we have the man himself, Fritz The Nite Owl.
Greetings, good groovers. Welcome to the Owl's Jazz Entertainment Megaplex and Pleasure Dome.
They keep changing the name of the place depending on which corporate sponsor grabs it at what time, but we're all here gathered.
It's also my bad memory. I forget where I am.
Yeah, where we're at.
Yeah.
We do not. We travel to Zontar every week to be with this guy on his home planet. Now that he's retired and beaming himself down to earth for all of us at the movie theater, brings me to my next point. It is the 50th anniversary of Nite Owl Theatre. This is amazing. So 1974, the show began, and this year in Columbus, we will be showing 40 episodes. These are our 40 newest episodes of the show, and so basically the beginning of March, there'll be one about every week. They're going in order the venues we started at. So the first week will be Grandview, second week will be Studio 35, third week will be Gateway Film Center, and the fourth week will be London State Theatre in nearby London, Ohio. So
and the Ohio.
So our screenings are happening this year. Exclusive art prints by Dave Wagstaff from the original Nite Owl Theatre run will be available. Different artwork at each show. So check our website at wntlchannelz.square.site to reserve your copies and pick up at the show. We're going to have a lot of fun this year together watching our newest episodes for one last go-round on the big screen. And so Fritz will be beaming to all of us in the audience, so show up if you've ever wanted to see a show. In this episode, we will be talking about you, the fans, and the years you've been fans of Fritz and fan letters he's received over the years and experiences with running into fans, the resurgence of the show, the movie theater, meeting everyone and just kind of this whole crazy thing, this crazy comeback. So this is perfect for the start of the 50th anniversary to include all of you. I know some of you have sent emails asking questions, and we'll address all that too. So first off, to start, Fritz, back in the day, you would receive fan letters. You would read them on air on Channel 10. What were some of the craziest... I guess we shouldn't start with crazy fans. What were some of those passionate letters you got?
I didn't read all of the letters, but I did read some. And it was always kind of interesting that I knew when an adolescent, somebody 8th grade or younger, was writing to me. Because, the envelope would be thick. And because I would each week tell people to write me and tell me what stars they wanted. So I'd open it up, and there would be this folded piece of paper about the size of a cube of dice. And I'd open it up, and every horror movie that had ever been made was on there as a request. And I would get letters like that from different kids every week. And those I always remembered. The rest of the mail was, a lot of people sent me artwork, which was good, and I would show that on the air a lot of times. And it was just, I only read letters maybe 3 or 4 years, the first couple of years. And then I stayed pretty much to the movie that was being shown that night.
Nice.
And so forth. But fan mail was always good. And as I mentioned on another different podcast, that my boss, John Haldy, who was program director, wanted to know which actors and actresses and types of movies were the most requested by people that I met on the street or that mailed in. And it turned out I checked, how many would the people on the street I meet want to see and what does the mail show? And the most mail was for requests for Godzilla and Elvis. Right. They beat out John Wayne, Dean Martin, Meryl Streep, Jack Nicholson, Godzilla, and Elvis. When I would show those, my mail was about 3 times as much. The next time I checked my mail, as it was about 3 times as much. All of them saying, "Show it again."
Yeah. Well, we finally will be showing it again this year in theaters. The original Godzilla is one of our new episodes, so come out to that. We even have someone on the team that is a diehard Godzilla fan. You've seen his artwork, Matt Harris, and he will be with us on a future episode. So tune in for that too, and he'll come on and talk about Godzilla. We'll grill him about Godzilla and his love of monsters and art. But yeah, so did you ever get any like crazy fan letters from like during the original run of the show?
Not really. Most of them were, they liked they wanted to know about the music, which was always jazz. They wanted to know about, they would request stars, and some of them just said that they enjoyed watching the visuals, the special effects that I would use that nobody else at the time had ever used before. And so that was about the gist of it.
But you also told me, I think it was, I don't know if it was another conversation or during one of the other podcasts, you said that even people didn't approach you, though, because they didn't recognize you without your glasses.
Oh, yeah. On
Is that
the
right?
street, people...
The anonymity.
People didn't recognize me
At the
unless I
grocery store.
talked.
Oh, right.
But I mean, I could go anywhere without the glasses, and if I shut up, I was just another bloke on the block. But as soon as I would talk, and a lot of times I would talk and people would say, "Are you?" And I'd say, "No, that's my brother." That way I could continue
grocery shopping.
or whatever.
Sure.
We
And,
do have
being nice at the same time without...
Right.
We do have Vidas Barzdukas here. Sorry, I forgot to reintroduce ourselves. It's been such a long break, but I am Mike McGraner, director and producer of Nite Owl Theatre. Vidas Barzdukas, who is writer on Nite Owl Theatre. Say hello, Vidas.
Hello.
He's already been talking, but we're going in reverse order for fun. Anyway, so Vidas, Fritz, and myself. So did you ever get any letters from like prisons?
What?
Not
Like
on
fan letters from prison?
No, not on television, but on radio. I did.
Okay.
Marion Correctional primarily, and one of the people there.
That damn Marion.
No, one of the people there was the editor of the prison magazine, and he used to write about me in the prison magazine.
Oh, cool.
Quite regular. When I was on WBNS FM in the first days of live stereo music, I had an hour-long jazz show, which he really liked, and he would write back. We would write back and forth about jazz artists, people he wanted to hear, and if I had the records available in stereo, I would play them.
Nice.
But that was about the only mail I got from prisons. Although I
wonder if they were all gathering and watching Nite Owl.
No, I knew a lot. I knew some of the people at the Ohio State pen here in town, and she would invite me to their Christmas show, which was always well done and very, very surprising in a lot of ways. A lot of talent there.
That's awesome.
No, surprisingly, a lot of talent. Singers, dancers, etc.
That's great, yeah.
But no, most of the mail I got were from, students. And primarily in the student thing, the 8th grade and under were probably the largest amount I got.
Wow.
And of course,
Mostly
it
double
was a
chiller.
thing. It was a thing that they were young enough that people would ask, well, why are they staying up that late?
Friday.
Even though it was on a Friday night,
Right,
and most of them didn't have anything to do on Saturday. But that surprised a lot of the older people that these kids were too young to be up that late at night.
Yeah, I'm curious, what was the demographic for the show? Because everybody who I've spoken to, just because of my age, were all my age, like they were young kids watching the show.
Yeah.
But was that mostly the people that watched the show were younger, or was it people who had the second shift or third shift?
No, it was about up to... No, it was even older than that, because I had a lot of second shifter adults that would write in to where Nite Owl was prime time. I would say it went from about grade 6 all the way to Rest in Peace.
Okay.
For example, I had a lot of students from CCAD that wrote in because they liked the artwork I would use on the show.
Yeah.
And no, it was a pretty wide spectrum of because I would get invited to a lot of the fraternity and sorority houses to be at their parties or MC some event that they had. I remember one fraternity had a free throw contest that they invited me to. You know, it was go whoever made the most free throws out of 10 got some kind of a prize. I hit about a 6, and so wasn't really in the running. But no, it covered all age groups, come to think of it.
Okay. That's really cool. I mean, I can see the show like inspiring because, I mean, you guys were, you know, figuring things out and effects and kind of pioneers in Columbus, especially with that stuff. And actually, next week, we're going to have our first guest. We're going to have Eric Hartzell, who actually worked on the original show with Fritz. So they're going to talk a little bit about the effects and everything from the original show.
Oh, so one of the things I really liked about it was when I would get letters from the preteen audience that liked the show. As they grew older, while they would only watch the Friday night double chiller, as they grew older, they would start to watch the other movies, which could be a musical, a western, a war story, a comedy. And so they kind of grew up and their taste in movies expanded to where, because Saturday through all the way, Friday was the only night when we had a special kind of movie.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a chiller. But through the week, it could be a musical, a comedy, any night of the week. But the audience, that young audience, many of them told me when I'd meet them at the fair, personal appearance, would tell me that their taste in movies expanded as they grew older. And because I think, as I mentioned on another show, my boss, John Haldy, was A, movie buff, and B, always got the very, very best movies that were available from the distributors to rent. And so Channel 10 was really, if you liked movies, Channel 10 really had a lot going. Because in addition to Nite Owl, Flippo had a movie, and there was a Saturday and Sunday morning movie, and an afternoon movie, and a lot of times when they had to fill something, they would use a movie. So
it's so crazy how back in the day when they would have these, you know, bigger titles on network TV, it was you never see that anymore. You never see a movie.
Yeah, we had all the big MGMs and 20th Century Foxes and Universals and RKOs, Warner Brothers. We showed everything, you know, the crime pictures with Cagney and those guys, and all of the musicals with Betty Grable and Sid Charisse.
It's like a film 101.
Yeah.
Growing up, yeah, that's great. I know we get, I guess we get the equivalent of fan letters still through our Facebook account, and I've called you on a lot of them. But the ones we get that are so hard, and is, you know, people ask, they're like, "Hey Fritz, do you remember there was this horror movie I watched on Nite Owl Theatre where some woman's like walking around in a dungeon and blah, and it's just one of those things where it's like, he's never gonna remember."
No,
so I kind of just answer that for him. And,
I did get letters like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I was on 7 nights a week, and it was just got to the point of where 90% of the movies just sort of went into one big molded ball, and I couldn't remember when people, unless they knew a star or what the movie was about, and a star, I couldn't tell them which was which.
I just love how everybody has a Nite Owl, like a memory of a scene in a movie. They're sure they saw it on your show, and a lot of those are most of the emails that we'll get. And which, by the way, it is me you're talking to online. It's not Fritz, but I will answer for him. I'll give him a call, get answers, and then repost the answers. But for those of you that are like, send me an 8x10. That's not him you're talking to.
I'm so computer inept, I don't have email, so Mike has to use the telephone. Dial F for Fritz.
So that's how we set up everything. We will in the future, though, be doing a Facebook Live on our Fritz page where Fritz will get on there and talk to the fans and be able to answer questions and things like that. So look for that at some point during the 50th anniversary year this year, where you'll actually be able to see Fritz and talk to him and everything like that. And so we'll announce that as soon as we get all the full details of when. I'm dying on the end here. Grabbing a cough drop. 1 second. But, so...
You ought to buy those by the carton.
Oh, my God. These are... we are not endorsed by Vicks, but they're lifesavers, I'll tell you that.
So is there a limit to how many people can be on the FaceTime?
No.
There's not. Okay.
No, so when we do the Facebook Live... Take a breath. Okay, when we do the Facebook Live... I'm not going to die. Everyone that's... fan of the page, so 7,000 something people could all be watching this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we'll have Vidas on the questions. So when you're all asking questions and they're all popping up, we'll make sure he's monitoring it and getting it. So, you want to do that, Vidas?
Sure. I just found out about it. Sure. Yeah. Wonderful.
Vidas and I will be sweating and answering questions as fast as we can. But for those of you, I know the equivalent of fan letters that we get today, the thing I see most on our Facebook, that I've always wanted to address, and this is a great year to address this, is a lot of you I know say, I miss Double Chiller, or I miss Nite Owl Theatre, or I wish that was still a thing today. And when I see those messages, the fact that we started this in 2010 and we came back in theaters and everything, this is the year where we're going to be doing a show every single week. And so you have the chance to no longer say, I wish this was a thing, but it is a thing, and this is the year you can come out and see it. For those of you that are not in Ohio, in different states, the fact that we'll be doing so many shows so often will hopefully give you a chance to plan, sleep accordingly, and or travel to one of these events. I highly recommend doing it. It's a lot of fun to come together with other fans of Nite Owl and watch these movies on the big screen, and it's just a giant TV we're watching. So,
and I did see some people were commenting about the fact that, well, if it's not that late, I would be there. And there are different times though for the different theaters.
There are different times. Like our first show will be RoboCop, and that will be on March 2nd. It's a Saturday night. It's 11 p.m. It's kind of late. It is a Saturday night though, so if you plan sleep ahead, you'll be all set. And that's at Grandview Theater. And then we are going to announce, today we announced Wayne's World is going to be the second show. That's going to be at Studio 35 the following week. And then those will be late shows. I believe at Studio 35 there's mention we might be doing matinees as well. So you could see a matinee encore. Gateway Film Center is going to be basically Friday nights at 9. And then London State Theater is going to be Thursday nights at 7:30 p.m. It is a weeknight, but it's early enough, and primetime Nite Owl.
I should mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just no episodes will repeat. Each theater will have a different set of episodes. So this is what makes it kind of fun, is to celebrate not only the theaters that gave us the opportunity to bring Fritz back and do this, but also to see different episodes based on which night it is and kind of come together.
Well, after I left Channel 10, and I was working for Channel 19 and then later Channel 62. I forget what the term for those kind of stations. They just do
it's not public
the
access,
city,
right?
Well, no, they were commercial stations.
Oh, okay, right.
19 and 62, but for some reason they could only be in Columbus. They couldn't broadcast me out. But
Regional?
both of those stations had me on at 7 o'clock at night.
Oh.
And I got a lot of mail. I was 2 years on 19 and 2 years on 62. And I got a lot of mail saying, well, it just doesn't seem right you're on that early. And you should be on
sure.
after 11.
Well, and that's, to be honest, that's why when we made the comeback, it's why we would do midnights, is because I wanted it to feel as authentic as possible. And then, of course, we'll hear people say, well, yeah, it's authentic, but, I could be at home in my living room watching it at midnight and doze off if I need to. If I am at the theater, I got to drive home after, and I know. And what I would always tell them is, Fritz is older than all of you, and he comes out to the shows.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was about to say, to go back to 1962, in order to see them, you had to disconnect your cable, and you could only see them over the air.
Oh.
Interesting. Okay.
But there's a term for stations like that, but I can't think of what it is. They're local commercial stations.
Wasn't it what they called it in Wayne's World? Wasn't it their channel in Wayne's World was like... Or what? No, that was public access. I was trying to figure out.
No, these were commercial stations.
Okay.
But you had to they couldn't be on cable. You had to disconnect the cable in order to see them over the air antenna.
Yeah, I know. Like Channel 10 had one of the 10.2 or whatever for.
Well, that's later. These were way back in 91 through 94, perhaps. I worked at those two stations.
Yeah, that's right. There was a sort of lost version of Nite Owl that was between Channel 10 and Harvard.
Channel 62 was at the corner of West Broad and what's the street just parallel to High Street, west of High Street.
Is it Nationwide?
Nationwide, yeah. It was in the corner of Nationwide building.
It's like the basement of the Hyatt, right?
Pardon?
Not the basement, but the Hyatt has that underground mall.
That was where I forget. It was either Channel 19 was in the bottom of was in the courts below the Hyatt at Nationwide Boulevard and High Street.
Right. That's
and then 62 was in at the corner of West Broad and whatever street that is, that's right parallel to, it was just the building just south of the Palace Theater.
Okay.
Or just west of the Palace Theater. And it had big windows around the corner so people could look in and see us doing what we were doing.
Nice.
And that was Channel 62.
Yeah. That was 2002 Nite Owl, right?
That was, no, that was probably 94, 95.
Right, yeah, that would have been 2002 because
it was before the 21st century started.
Okay. Yeah.
But they were low power stations, and you could only get them in Columbus. You couldn't get them on cable. You had to disconnect the cable to see them, and so forth.
Well, movie theaters make it much easier. You don't have to disconnect anything.
I was just saying that those two stations had me on. Those two stations had me on at 7:00. And I got a lot of mail saying, it just doesn't seem right that it's not on.
Right.
Yeah. Close to midnight.
We do have a mix. I originally, for our 50th, I was going to put like the R-rated episodes at Studio 35 for the midnight, and I was going to have the PG episodes at the 7 p.m. in London. But then I just thought about it more, and I was like, you know what? These venues have given us all this time to show these. I'm going to let the venues pick. So the 4 venues looked at the list of 40 episodes and picked the episodes they would show. So there's a nice mix of all of them at each place. And so it's not just the ones you'd think that are at Studio or Grandview or whatever. So we're starting with RoboCop in Wayne's World, and RoboCop's R, that's at Grandview, and then Wayne's World's PG-13, that's at Studio. But I think they're picking correctly because, Wayne's World is it's absolutely a Studio 35 type movie, and it's going to be one big party. You're not going to want to miss that. And also, if you look at the website, you'll see the art prints, the limited edition art prints by Dave Wagstaff from the original show. Every show we do this year will have different art available for 1 week only as a pre-order to pick up at the show. You just get a ticket to the show, send us your ticket confirmation, and check out with your purchase, and then they'll be waiting for you the night of the show to pick up. So this is we have had a couple messages from people out of town asking, what about us out-of-towners? And what I can tell you is we're showing 40 episodes all year. So for the out-of-towners, I know if you grew up watching Nite Owl and it means a lot to you, plan accordingly and come on out and hang out with us. So But
The
cool,
the invitation is there, and we'd love to have your eyes and ears with us.
Yeah. Now, the one I can't help with are the people that say, what if we have to work those nights? Well, that's why we have Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays we're doing these on, depending on the venue. So there's something for everyone. You will all be able to come see a show at least and hang out. And you will see Fritz on the big screen. So he'll be beaming down from his Zontar to host these, and we'll all be able to see him on the big screen. There'll be plenty of Fritz merch and T-shirts and things like that. So.
It's hard to believe that it's 50 years starting in. Well, we started in fall of 74.
Yeah,
and the time has just zoomed by.
What are the chances we can get Channel 10 to like turn on a searchlight and have the Nite Owl logo going through the sky?
I'd be all for that.
It'd be like the bat signal, but it's the Nite Owl eyes.
The owl signal.
God, that'd be so cool. I wish I wouldn't go to jail if we rogue did that in the middle of the night. But every time I drive by that tower, I'm just like, man, it'd be so sweet if there was like a Nite Owl mannequin.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
But then they'd be like, someone's up on the tower.
No.
Call for help.
Well, it's sort of a thing like, say, a lot of the newer viewers aren't familiar with what the tower theme stood for or why it was there. But it was when I couldn't come up with a visual for the movie we were showing. Theoretically, the premise was that I lived on top of the tower, and when everybody went home, I would go down to the film room and steal a film and show it from the tower to the people. So that's where the reference to the tower comes in. But some of the later view, as I say, the tower was kind of like a safe haven if I didn't have a visual or special effect to show that directly related to the movie.
So did you ever do that as part of your intro, or did the viewers meaning did they know that you lived up there and you came down and stole a film? Because the only intro that I know is the Hello Good Groovers, 14 viewers out there in the darkness. That's the
that was what I used on radio also. Before Nite Owl.
And then, so it was part of the intro? Did they show you coming down the tower? Or,
no.
Okay, nothing like that.
No, excuse me, early episodes showed the skyline with the tower, and the white owl symbol would kind of pop up and toward the viewer, and then it would cut to him at the tower.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, New York Mary, the song would play.
And the song was we got a lot of mail on what is that song.
Yeah, New York Mary. But those segments will be on the upcoming set that comes out either the end of this year or next year or the beginning of next year. But it's all of the restored footage that Fritz saved over the years, and Eric Hartzell from Channel 10 helped us with it and everything. And so you're going to have a whole set of that stuff. So.
And the stuff that you use now, the intro, is from...
Well, the intro we use for the new episodes is kind of my nod to the old HBO 80s intro, which to me meant a lot to me as a kid. So doing this version of Nite Owl, I'm sort of acting like had the show never left the airwaves, what it would look like now, and if it were on cable. And so the HBO throwback is sort of a fun thing we created.
Sure.
For our Channel Z.
Well, it's very impressive, and I'm bow in admiration to your creativity on that. But it is a thing that a lot of the things we're doing on our 21st century version, I never could have done on 10 TV. I mean, the equipment, the technology just wasn't there to do the things that we're doing now, as opposed to the things we could do way back when.
Okay, so so the first time that we brought you back for a non public domain film was Jaws, and that
Trick or Treat, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, sorry. So the first one that I saw, was Jaws, and and you mentioned that you had never seen. You would not see any of this special effects until you were in the theater, with the audience. Did you ever have that wow moments when you were watching any of these films? Like when you were watching the opening of Jaws and you're sitting there in the seat as Quint, as the camera comes around. Did you have that moment of holy crap, this is really...
Oh, yeah.
This is great.
It was a thing that all of the 21st century Nite Owl Theatre, the production, I did everything in front of a green screen,
right,
chroma keyed. Whereas at Channel 10, I would do it in front of a chroma key, but I had a monitor so I could see the special effect going on with me in it at the same time.
Right.
So I would see at Channel 10, I would see them as we were producing them. But with the current version is I never see the finished product until the audience.
And then, it's got to be you got to get a kick out of it sometimes.
Oh,
with
more than often.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just about every time I'm just amazed at how well. Oh, I mean, there's times when the one where I'm on the telephone with somebody, and then there's the one with Audrey.
That's Nightmare on Elm Street.
And then there's Audrey Hepburn where I'm lighting her cigarette,
sure,
and she and I are talking. No, I mean, we're doing things we could never have done back then, and Mike does it all. I know I'm going to light Audrey's cigarette, but I don't know how technically we're going to do it.
Right.
Well, that was Tobias Rediger on effects for that one, so he did a great job.
And there also is it the Shining one where your face appears as the all work and no play? There's all the text.
Yeah. Okay. So that was another Tobias episode. So, Ryan took over on Back to the Future. So yeah, it was Tobias Shining, and when she's Shelley Duvall is going through the pages of the all work and no play, and she looks at one of the pages, and it still says all work and no play in the type print, but it forms your face.
Right.
So when you're talking that whole break, it's the letters in all work and no play that are forming your face. That's one of my favorites.
Right.
That's pretty.
No, one of
my
favorites, I think you did, was Reanimator.
Oh yeah, that was Ryan. Yeah, that was Ryan Blazo.
Oh, was that it? Okay. Anyway, that's.
I mean, yes, I plan everything, but I don't touch the buttons.
Yeah.
I just want to give credit where credit.
Which is the one where they throw the head at you and you dodge it?
That's Reanimator.
That's Reanimator.
That's funny.
Reanimator starts out with the scientist doing his thing, and my head is on a dish, sort of beheaded, sort of bleeding out,
right,
while I do the intro to the show.
Yeah.
And then we got to meet the guy that was the star of the Reanimator, and we met him 30 years after the movie.
Bruce Abbott, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce Abbott. He's
who was the guy that played the lead though?
That was Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, yeah. We met Jeffrey Combs and Bruce Abbott 30 years later, something like that.
Yeah, and
these
amazing.
Two guys were Dorian Grays. They looked just like they did 30 years ago.
Well, Jeffrey Combs is such an incredible actor, like stage actor, and he did. I have not seen it, but he does a one-man show where he's Edgar Allan Poe, and it's just I would kill to see that show.
Where is it running?
He just does it every now and then. Like he did it at Horror Hound, I guess, one year. And then he had done it in New York or wherever Stuart Gordon was from, because Stuart Gordon directed it, I believe. They've always worked together. The first time I ever saw him was The Frighteners, which was had we done one more season of Nite Owl Theatre. The Frighteners was in it, Big Trouble in Little China, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Die Hard, Howard the Duck. I mean, there was a lot coming up that we would have done, but the Frighteners, his performance in that is great. He's just this very quirky, weird FBI agent that's like OCD, like he's obsessive compulsive and always has to put gloves on and can't touch people, and it's.
Oh, really?
But he's so neurotic, it just makes you uncomfortable.
And that's called what?
The Frighteners.
I'd like to see. I haven't seen that.
Michael J. Fox is the lead.
Oh.
And he plays he's a con man that basically will exorcise spirits from your house for a fee, but he knows he's full of shit. And
well, I'm gonna have to look for that.
Yeah, then real things start. I'll bring it over. It's Peter Jackson directed it. The guy did Lord of the Rings and all that. So I mean, it's a great movie.
You know what I was just thinking about? It was that during COVID, when you showed Nite Owl on cast.
Oh right, yeah, we were doing the online cast things, which you fans were great to be a part of that.
Well, what I remember the most was that a lot of people were we're all at home.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're all stuck at home because we're all quarantining, or, just trying to stay safe.
Yeah.
And then I remember you had like a 24-hour marathon or something like that?
Yeah.
And
We had a few of them.
Yeah.
And Matt did posters for those.
And I remember I came on, just to kind of help with the, whatchamacallit? Just with the messaging or whatever. Yeah. And you would just see all these people just show up. And I remember it was a really cool thing that we're all bored out of our minds, trying to do something during COVID. And all of these people came online just to watch these episodes.
Cast was so fun. That was like my TV station.
Yeah, but it was like 3:30 in the morning. I'd wake up and there's like a bunch of people still there, like watching, these movies.
That first 24-hour marathon on Nite Owl that we did was, there's people that made it all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No, that's the communal thing. Here's the reason we pushed the movie theater thing so bad. We know all of you enjoyed watching it at your houses on Channel 10. That's never going to happen again. So I'm going to get that out there. The only way to see Nite Owl is going to be the theaters. But what's so neat about it is keep in mind you're watching it at the same time other Nite Owl fans are watching it. So just like back in the day when it was on TV and you weren't recording it and talking about, or you weren't having this solo experience. You were enjoying it with other fans. And then the next day at school, you talk about it or something like that. I kind of want to get back to that. That's why Joe Bob on Shudder, that's why he never announces what the movies are going to be. And instead of it going on demand right when it goes up, he does it so that we all have to watch it live. That's how we get this communal feeling again. So that's the point of doing these screenings, is to have everybody come out and experience it together and be able to share in that. So it's not so, it's...
Yeah, that was one of the scary parts of the new version that I wasn't sure of. It was like the Channel 10 version. I knew that I was just talking to like one or two guy and his date in the living room, or a couple of kids staying up late, or a second shifter who just came in. But it was just me and them. It was like my days in radio. It's like you're with just these one or two people, and there was very intimate kind of thing. Whereas I wasn't sure that intimacy would work with a whole theater full of people who didn't know each other.
Yep. It's just a giant living room.
Yeah. It didn't work like it did when there was only 2 or 3 people watching at one time. Yeah. But it still had that togetherness. We're doing this and enjoying this as a crowd.
Well, we've shown the episodes here and there of various venues, and this past year when I was doing the Tarantino series at Studio 35, I kind of tested it because when we got to From Dusk Till Dawn, because Tarantino wrote that, I showed the Nite Owl version of it. Mm-hmm. And so some people that were there just for Tarantino watched it. Some people that knew who you were came out, and every time you came on screen, it was just cheers, and you heard beer bottles being clanked, and it was just like, so I know that like this is going to be a fun year just based on that screening I did last year. So it's a lot of fun. But I wanted to go through the movies that you're going to see this year in our newest version of Nite Owl Theater. So first up, Trick or Treat. This is written and directed by Michael Dougherty, who is from Columbus, grew up watching Fritz, got his love of horror from Fritz, and made this amazing love letter to Halloween. So you'll be seeing that. Excuse my coughing. I'm very sorry. We got Jaws, Vidas' favorite movie. That's when Vidas came on board as a writer, and he did a 1-2-3 punch with Jaws, Blade Runner, and The Shining. So you'll see those three.
And they set records at the Ohio.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. The Ohio Theater's record for summer movie series is Jaws at number 1, Nite Owl. Number 2, The Princess Bride. Number 3, The Shining, Nite Owl.
Yep.
So it's kind of...
The Jaws was like one of the most magical moments of my life. That was...
Yeah, tell us about it.
Well, I just remember going up there, and you don't know what to expect because Jaws is, how many people are going to show up for this thing. And I remember we had a booth that were selling, merch.
Yeah. And
I helped out, and my wife said, "I'm going to go up to the balcony. I'm going to go up to the second." Yeah, I think up to the balcony. Yeah. And so I helped out at the table, and then I went up there and I sat down, next to my wife. Place is packed. packed full of people.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I remember sitting there, and I'm like, wow, all these people. And then you guys came onto the stage. You know, you introduced the movie. You made a lot of jokes. You know, everyone is clapping. You know, I'm pointing at Fritz not right now. Fritz made all the jokes. You know, people loved it. And then you said, "Oh, and our writer Vidas Barzdukas is up there on this, you know, in the balcony." And I remember, I stood up.
I think I had you wave.
Yeah, I just kind of waved. You said, wave, so I just waved. And then the woman next to us was like, "You wrote Jaws?" You know, like she thought I wrote the movie Jaws, and I'm like, no. And anyway, but besides that, but it was like, you know, just watching it, you know, seeing your name on the big screen.
That's when you look at her and go, duh.
right. And so I remember,
I was 9 when I wrote Jaws.
Right, but it was such a all those people that were there, and yeah, I remember actually The Shining as well, because a woman did not know that it was the Fritz the Nite Owl version.
Yeah.
And so she turned to her date and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know this was the Fritz the Nite Owl," because she thought
this guy's just gonna mess it up. Sorry about that.
But then the guy was like, "No, this is great," you know, and he really loved, you know.
What people do have to remember is that when I appear in the current versions of these movies on Channel 10, when I would appear, then it would be followed by about 4 commercials,
right?
And then we go back to the movie. So here, what Mike did was, rather than show me and then the commercials, he just eliminated the commercials.
Yes.
But they still have my break, which would have introduced commercials in the old days.
Right.
So it's not an ego thing that I want to interrupt the movie.
No. Well, I mean, that's what Joe Bob does on Shudder. Is they're a cable network, so it goes from the movie to him and then back to the movie. And I mean, there are no commercials. So it's just a way. It's kind of like dinner and a movie, where like I love learning about the film while you're watching it and getting a chuckle out of what the effect will be. My favorite thing is when the audience starts to guess what we're going to do with you next break.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a thing, too.
Well, yeah, when the you knew the commercial, or when it would fade to black, and it would come up with the scene that you've already seen.
And you would hear chuckles.
And you hear people start laughing because they know exactly what they're going to see.
Yeah.
You know, Fritz is going to appear in something.
Yeah.
You know, or they're guessing what it's going to be.
Totally, yeah. See, so Jaws, Blade Runner, and Shining, big ones. We got the original John Carpenter's Halloween. Love it. I wrote that episode. We have Mark Miller wrote Back to the Future and Gremlins, so we got a couple fun Spielberg-produced movies. We then go to Raiders. This isn't the order we're showing them. This is just the order we made them. So Raiders of the Lost Ark, written by Vidas. Labyrinth, that was our hardest episode we ever did. There was one section with Fritz that was 22 different shot setups, and that's a pretty amazing episode. We got the Goonies, Legend, of course, that apparently only I like out of the whole team.
Yep.
So if you like the Goonies, you're awesome. If not, then I apologize. My God, apparently I didn't know. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, an independent film that was for adults as much as it is kids. Pretty dark movie, pretty awesome, and independent film all the way up till New Line Cinema purchased it. So it was the highest grossing independent film until the Blair Witch Project. So that is why I picked it. But I mean, come on, I also picked it because the Turtles rule.
I saw it 3 times in the theater.
There you go. Okay, cool. So there you go. Yeah. We got The Lost Boys, one of the best freaking movies of the 80s. it makes up for the Goonies, and it's a really fun one. We got the original Friday the 13th, which if you were there in 2018, we brought Adrienne King, the lead actress, out, and we did the Nite Owl version. And and the Barzdukas household was our green room, and Adrienne came by, and we had a blast. So that was a lot of fun. We got Ridley Scott's original Alien, one of the scariest movies to this day ever made. So we may be doing Alien this year in a quite the big house. So you'll stay tuned for that. But it's not all blockbusters. We're doing Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a great, fun, campy movie. And we may have a couple of the actors there also. So, stay tuned for that. We got Little Shop of Horrors, the 1986 musical starring Rick Moranis. That's a fun episode because there is a little fake out in it. And if you know, you know. And if not, then come to Little Shop of Horrors. It's going to be a lot of fun. Beetlejuice, considering that the second one's finally coming out and being made. You can come see the original Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Ghostbusters. Then we got Reanimator, which is the one we were just discussing. We got Jurassic Park, the best one, the original one. Not a fan of the new trilogy. But, Wayne's World. We got the Blob remake from 1988, which is one of the best remakes of the 80s. We got the original Psycho. We got Twilight Zone, the movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where Fritz actually mixes with cartoon and live action. It's kind of awesome. We did a lot of really cool effects in that episode. Mick Garris' Sleepwalkers, written by Stephen King for the screen. Mick was there at our premiere and sat with Fritz and I and congratulated us and loved the episode. So that was director approved there. We've got the original Fright Night from 1985. We've got the original Scream, which still holds up as one of the best horror movies of the 90s. Forget about everything that came after. The original is awesome. Rocky Horror Picture Show. We try to show it without audience participation. Maybe we'll succeed this time, but feel free to, if you know the line.
Do the time warp.
Yeah, do the time warp. We got Tim Burton's Batman from 1989, which is always great to see in the cinema. It still holds up. We got Michael Dougherty's Krampus, who wrote Trick or Treat. We've got The Monster Squad, which is, a lot of people haven't seen it, but it's a really fun 80s movie and a big nod to Universal monster movies. We've got Giorgio Moroder's Metropolis. So when Metropolis was first found and restored, it was restored with a soundtrack by Loverboy, Freddie Mercury, and Pat Benatar. It was in 1984 AF, and come see that. It's a way to see a great classic with a rockin' soundtrack. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original Dawn of the Dead, The Warriors, From Dusk Till Dawn, the original Godzilla, the American cut with Perry Mason, and RoboCop. So that's everything. And then we have the Star Wars trilogy, which is as yet unfinished, and we will be hopefully finishing the original closer, which was The Crow, Tron, and E.T. So that is everything we did. A lot of iconic movies, all showing on the big screen this year, and your last chance to see them. So, because we cannot release these on home media, it is too expensive for rights. So, yeah, it's gonna be a good year.
We certainly had a great selection of movies, and some of them weren't really chillers in the monster sort of way, but a lot of them were very, very suspenseful, and under the broad term chiller, they fit. That was actually one of the things at Channel 10. It was called Chiller Theater, but we would show the Rubber Monster movies and the Frankenstein Universal kind of thing, but we would show space pictures and superhero movies, and Tarzan, I think, was on Nite Owl every now and then. So it was things that were fantasy. We even showed Psycho as a chiller, and we showed the one about the Manson murders. It was a double.
Helter Skelter.
Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
We showed that as a double chiller because it ran as two separate, part 1 and part 2, when they showed it on national television. So, as I say, it was a thing that our new version of Nite Owl is as broad in terms of what we show as it was on Channel 10.
Absolutely, and fear not, if it's not horror, the way we did it is still a lot of fun. I mean, you've got Raiders of the Lost Ark, which definitely has horror elements in it, melting faces and whatnot. But just to see Fritz host these in Fritz's way,
Alien and Batman were kind of. Alien is really more science fiction than monster, and Batman is just action suspense.
But it gets your love of comics in there, and horror and sci-fi, and I think
the great poster by Matt Harris,
and the great poster by Matt Harris. Yes,
I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So catch Matt Harris in 2 weeks, and come out to the screenings this year. We'll keep updating you on everything, and thanks so much for being a part of this. Thanks for keeping Fritz alive. 50 years now, so congrats, Fritz, on that.
That's my 15 minutes of fame.
Yay! And tune in every Friday night If we skip a Friday, we'll let you know, but tune in for Conversations with the Owl as we continue to talk all year. Not all these are going to be making of Nite Owl stuff. Sometimes we're just going to come in and talk about anything at all. I mean, the point is for Fritz to share stories over his career in broadcasting and just, connect with all of us and keep Nite Owl alive. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you very soon.